Good evening, dear students. I am Rajesh, and you are watching Learning with Rajesh YouTube channel. Dear students, as you know that in ninth class we have started history part. In history, we have completed lesson number 1 named as French Revolution. Today we will start our lesson number 2, and the name of lesson is Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. As we read in the lesson that there was the age of social change in Europe. Firstly, we will read about the age of social change in Europe, and then we will read about the change in society of Russia and what were the major problem of Russian Revolution. Today we will read up to that major reason of Russian Revolution, and tomorrow we will read about the Russian Revolution of 1905 and then Russian Revolution of 1970. So let's start our today's work. The age of social change. In Europe, after the French Revolution, there was the age of social change in Europe. There were three types of people in the society that have different views on the socialism in Europe. Firstly, there were the group of liberals, and group of that liberal people look to change the society. Firstly, you know that the liberal people looked to change the society. Next, they tolerated all religions. They thought that society should be as it tolerate the all religions. It means they wanted secularism. Nextly, they were against dynastic rulers. It means they were against autocracy. And next, they were in favor of judiciary, well-trained judiciary. I hope you got all 3-4 points that what were the views of liberals in Europe. Next, radicals. Radicals were the people that favored majority government. As you know that in majority government, it's same like a democratic government. Next, supported women to right. They supported women to right to vote. It means they were in favor of suffrage movement that started by women for their right to vote. Next, they disliked concentration of property in hands of a few. It means they wanted that the property should be equally distributed in the society. I hope you got all 3 points related to radicals. And the next were conservatives. Conservatives opposed liberals and radicals. It means they opposed these ideas of women right to vote and conservation of property in one hand and majority government. Such type of ideas were denied by these conservatives. So it means they opposed radicals and liberals. And they also opposed the idea of change. As you know that in our society, if a person is not favoring in the change, you can say that he or the person is conservative. He has conservative type of thinking. And next, if change, it should be through a slow process. Conservative thought that if there is a change in society, it should be through a slow process. Next is industry and social change, or it means problem in society. Industry and social change gave some problem in the society, and due to this problem of society, people were encouraged to do a revolution in Europe. Now the first one problem, industrialization brought men, women and children to factories, and there were unemployment situation in the society. Some people engaged in work or as a factory worker, but number of people were unemployed at that time. And next, housing and sanitation problem, because population was increasing and housing and sanitation problem was not improving in Europe due to industrialization. And next, property owned by individual. It means property was in hand of a few in Europe. These were some problem in society due to industrialization. I hope you got the point. And the next is, how did socialism spread in Europe? You learned that there were three major types of people lived in Europe. After French Revolution, there was change in society, like radicals, liberals, and conservatives. And there was age of industrialization also in Europe, and that industrialization gave some problem in the society, and you learned about the problems. Now, how did socialism spread in Europe? As you learned, the lesson name is Socialism in Europe. As the meaning of socialism, you know very well. Socialist society is the society there is equality in people. All people have equal opportunity to develop. So, socialists developed the socialism in Europe. It means people who believed in socialism were known as socialists. And what were the major views given by socialists about socialism? Socialists thought that they were against private property. Socialists were against private property. They thought that if socialism to be promoted in Europe, private property should be distributed equally. They saw it a root of all social ills. It means a socialist thought that private property is the main root of all social ills in the society, because property owner work for only gaining money, not for welfare of the people who produce money for them. I hope you got all the points that what were the thinking, what was the main thinking of socialists to develop socialism in Europe. They thought that private property is the major problem of all evils, all ills in the society. So, what were the ideas of socialists to solve this problem? What were the ideas given? They thought that private property is the major problem in the society. So, how to solve this problem? They thought that, socialists thought that they had different ideas to solve this problem. Some believed that the idea of cooperatives, it means some socialists thought, believed in the idea of cooperatives. Robert Owen built a cooperative community to solve this problem. And next, Louis Blanc wanted the government to encourage cooperatives. As you learned in the first line, socialists had different ideas to solve the problem of private property. Robert Owen built a cooperative community. It means he thought that people should build a cooperative society to solve this problem. On the other hand, Louis Blanc wanted that government should promote the cooperative to solve this problem of private property. I hope you learned this point. Next, views of Karl Marx to develop socialism in Europe. Marx argued that industrial society was capitalist society. As you know that in capitalist society, people are having more property. Some people having more property, and their main motive is to gain money. As in India nowadays, can say that Indian economy is a capitalist economy or society. Capitalists work for gaining profit. So worker had to construct a socialist society. How to construct a socialist society? By dividing this property equally. This would be a communist community, communist society. According to Karl Marx, if the worker want to construct a socialist society, they have to divide the private property equally, and when the private property is equally divided, this society will be known as communist society according to Karl Marx. I hope you learnt about the views given by Karl Marx, that he thought that the society when where the major private property owner work for gaining money only, this society was known as capitalist society. And in capitalist society, owner work for only gaining money, profit. Next, the Russian Revolution. You learnt about the introducing of socialism in Europe, that what was the thinking of socialist people in Europe like Robert Owen and Louis Blanc and Karl Marx. Now, what were the major conditions that led to the revolt in Russia in 1917 and before 1917 also? Tsar Nicholas II was a ruler of Russia in 1914 up to 1917 also. Finland, Latvia, Poland, Ukraine, present day these countries, present day Finland, Latvia, Poland and Ukraine were the part of Russia at that time. And different religious community lived there like Catholics, Protestants, Muslims and Buddhists also. And Tsar Nicholas behaved like dictator in Russia. These were the main Russian political conditions before 1917. So there will be a question in exam, write about Russian Empire before 1917. You will write that Tsar Nicholas II was the ruler of Russia at that time, and at that in Russian Empire number of countries were included and different religious community lived there, and Tsar Nicholas was a dictator. Next, why revolution? As you learned in previous lesson, the French Revolution. Why revolution? Why were people against the ruler like Tsar Nicholas II? So, economic condition. It means you can say that economic reason. 85% people of Russia were farmers in comparison to other countries of Europe. They had to pay more revenue, more taxes. They were compelled to pay these taxes. Most of industries were private. And as you learned that private society is a capitalist society. So in that capitalist society, the industry owner gave less wages to the workers and more working hours were there. You learned that up to 10 to 15 hours were there for working, and poor working conditions were there in factories. That's why people revolted against the king. I hope you got the point. And the next is social region. What type of society was there in Russia before revolution? Women made up 31% of factory labor. They were paid less, and unemployment problem also there in society. And peasants did not respect the nobles. In Russia, as you learned in lesson, in other countries of Europe like France and in Germany, the peasants respected nobles. But in the society of Russia, peasants did not respect the nobles. They thought that nobles should divide or distribute the land equally in all peasants, and that's why they refused to pay taxes to the nobles. And these were the main reason of revolution. Social region. Next, political region. As you know that Tsar Nicholas was a dictator. His wife Alexandra, Tsarina Alexandra, was affected by Rasputin monk. It means you can say that Rasputin monk burgled them. He told the bad things to the Tsarina and Tsar to control the country. It means Rasputin did not give them good ideas. And next, they forced peasants to pay more taxes. They here means Tsarina and Tsar. they forced all the peasants to pay more taxes in Russia. That's why people revolted against Tsar Nicholas II. I hope you got all the points. And the next and the final point of today is socialism in Russia. As you learned the meaning of socialism today, socialism here means equality in society. And you also learned about the views of socialist leader like Robert Owen and Louis Blanc and Karl Marx about socialism in Europe. And now socialism in Russia. Who developed socialism in Russia? People and the worker and the peasants make a party named as Socialist Revolutionary Party was formed in 1900 in Russia to revolt against the king. The party struggled for peasants. The party divided over the strategy of organization. Party worked for peasants, but the party was divided into two parts. First was Bolshevik and the next was Menshevik. Vladimir, here not N here, R here, Vladimir Lenin led the Bolshevik. It means he was the leader of Bolshevik party. He thought that party should be disciplined and there were special members in the party. On the other hand, Mensheviks thought that party should be open to all, whether they are poor person of the society or the rich or any type of person is there. The party should be open to all. It was the thinking of Mensheviks. But on the other hand, Bolsheviks leader Vladimir Lenin thought that party should have the major particular members. I hope you got all the points of today, and there will be next video tomorrow. To complete this lesson, we will read about the revolution of 1905 and the revolution of 1917, and after the change in society after 1917. That's all, and thank you and have a nice evening.